What's up, guys and gals? It's Edvin here. Welcome back to Edvin's Evaluation, where I give the evaluations to follow. Today, we are befriending Pokemon to explore the deepest depths of the ocean. Because today, we are watching Pokemon Ranger and the Temple of the Sea. Pokemon Ranger and the Temple of the Sea was released on July 16th, 2006 in Japan. Later released on March 23rd, 2007 in America, airing on the Cartoon Network. This movie was directed by Kunichiho Yamayama, who worked with Pokemon from 1997 to 2019. Before I get into the rankings of this hour-and-a-half movie, let's break down the summary of what's going on in the opening moments. The movie starts with Jack Walker rescuing a Manaphy egg from the Phantom. After that introduction of the movie, we see our main four heroes getting completely lost. Yeah, just like in every Pokemon movie, they somehow get tangled up with the thing going on in that movie. For the case of this movie, they meet a traveling circus-like family who are protecting the egg, so it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Now let's find out if the Rangers hold up a fight or crumble under the weight. Moving right into voice acting. It's subpar. There are a handful of characters in this movie who sound monotone or flat, and either that or they're just too weird and don't even work. The ones who have the worst voices are Elizabeth's father and grandfather. Both of them sound devoid of emotion, which is so easily seen when other characters have better emotion.
Tonight's the night, the total lunar eclipse.
I hope we're on time.
It's up to Manaphy and the whimsy of the ocean.
I guess so.
On to look first time. Well, usually this kind of animation, the basis of what a Pokemon movie should look like, is good, right? Well, sadly, no. Because this movie uses CGI, which sounds fine, but they use it in the weirdest places, and or it looks out of place, next to the 2D anime characters, of course. I know the budget of this was probably not that high, but it looks really off-putting and odd. Even for its time, it doesn't look right most of the time.
Borrow my dictionary?
No thanks.
Next we have creativity, which is basically only decent in this movie. Giving a whole cool backstory to Manaphy was very cool and creative, yet sadly that doesn't save the creativity lacking everywhere else. For example, the Pokemon, the character archetypes, and the standard villain. Everything seems pretty simple and basic, outside of the Manaphy plotline. Speak of the Angel, in this case, and it'll appear. The storyline for Manaphy is great in this movie, giving them a great backstory with a decent execution, yet sadly this doesn't help much. The backstory for Manaphy is great, but the rest of the plot points are interchangeable. Heck, this doesn't even need to be a Pokemon Ranger movie. Barely anything happens relating to it. Speaking of Pokemon Ranger, let's get to the characters. The whole cast of 14 actually listed characters. A good few are Pokemon, so that actually helps me out. Before I get into the bare meat and bones of the new characters for this movie, let me go over the 5 main series characters. Ash, Brock, May, Max, and Pikachu. All these 5 are the main cast for Pokemon Advanced, which was the series going on this time. Ash is the same as he always is if you've watched Pokemon before, same with Brock. May, on the other hand, gets a bit more character development with Manaphy, yet that character development is probably forgotten right as soon as they get back to the regular anime. Max didn't get much development, he just got to hang with a Breezel, which is adorable.
The best.
Oh yeah.
I've never petted a Weasel before.
Yeah, please.
It's okay, Manaphy.
Nana?
Everything will be fine.
The other 3 remaining series main characters are obviously Jessie, James, and Meowth. These 3 need no introduction if you have watched Pokemon. Yet in this movie, they're just worried about the treasure just like the Phantom is. Speaking of the Phantom, let's move on to the new characters, the ones who were made for this movie. To start off, we have the Phantom, who is the most basic, boring, and simple villain I've seen in a long time. He is just a copy and paste pirate. He even has a Chatot to push that point across even more. What doesn't help is his crew and himself aren't even pirates. Sure, they go for treasure, but they're just a basic evil team, which reminds you, isn't even a part of Pokemon Ranger games. Let me push this point across further though. This evil team, despite being pirates, as the Phantom claims, have helicopters that travel outside of the water. Half of their introduction to the main cast is him straight up just fighting with people on land, which shouldn't be a huge problem, yet they basically set up the Phantom like he is a basic pirate. So shouldn't he be staying in the water, or at least walking after them? No? Okay, great. That makes so much sense. Apologies for the rant, dear viewers. Let me go over Jack Walker, the Pokemon Ranger. He's very charismatic, cocky, clever, and funny. Having a simple but perfect backstory. Everything works well with him except... Hello, dear viewers! Welcome to another episode of Missed Opportunities. I am your host, Edvin. It's great to see everyone out here tonight. Now, dear viewers watching at home, tell me the answer to this question. If this movie is about the Pokemon Rangers, they must be prominent in the movie. The question is, how many times did they use their capture device? Come on, it has to be D. It's always D. It always is. If you guessed A, you're wrong. It was not 10 times, it was 3 times. You heard that right. The capture device was only used 3 times in this movie. Don't worry if you got that one wrong. Let's move on to the next question. Does Jackie save the day at the end of the movie? If you guessed B, you're wrong. A was the correct answer. He did not save the day. That means we're on our last question. Listen closely and try to get it right. Did this movie feel like a Pokemon Ranger movie? If you said A, you're right, it didn't. I apologize, but that's all the time we have for today. Join us next time on Missed Opportunities! Let me quickly go through the last couple characters. I'm not in the mood for any of this. The last 2 new characters that actually got named are Judy and Elizabeth. Both of these characters work for the circus that I brought up before. They help Ash and crew take care of Manaphy and help them understand Manaphy's past. Basically, they just spew plot, which is fine because it is a kid's movie. My favorite character is Jackie. I love his attitude and jokes. We're down to the wire, guys and gals. Finally, we're at music. Is the music good? Yes. It's pretty much the best thing in this movie. All the music sounds amazing, and I would love to play you some of the music from this movie. Yeah, you guys know how it is. Copyright is a bitch. Before we get into the ranking, let me go over a couple more things. For one thing, this movie was made for the PG age demographic, much like everything else related to Pokemon. The critics rated this movie a 68% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's time to see if the ratings were even remotely correct. Out of these 5 cards, this movie is... I'm conflicted. Now, this isn't even a card, but it's instead a mix between 2 cards. It's meh and bad. Both of these cards sum up what I think of the movie. It's decent when it needs to be, or rather, it's middle ground whenever needed. Yet it's bad in so many ways. The fact that this movie feels like certain characters are interchangeable is really bad. It's horrible even. I even like Jackie, as he was the highlight of the movie. Yet he could have just not been there, and the whole movie would play out basically the same. To not give you any spoilers, though, I am going to end this part of my ranking here. Yet I will say that this is one of the worst Pokemon movies I've watched. If you like it, though, that's great, as long as you have your own opinion. Now the final question is, what age demographic would I recommend watching this if I did recommend it? I would say anywhere from 7 to 40 plus. Pokemon is ageless in a way, so I think anyone could possibly like this movie, unlike me. We're at the end, folks. It was a great ride. Thanks for watching this video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to see what comes next. Until then, I'm logging off.